I'm never really sure that I can quite pull off the practice of a liturgical season. It's Lent. Lent has begun and will continue now through Holy Week and Easter. But it seems to me that my Mondays and my Wednesdays and my Fridays are much the same, with the same sorts of concerns and details and actions and activities. But to take these seasons, these liturgical times, and maybe just stop a little bit and notice that we're in it, and perhaps to do that on a regular basis over the course of a few weeks, is the best I can do to let myself be moved or changed. We've chosen this year for our theme for Lent, matters of life and death. It's kind of heavy, don't you think? It could be. And you could be saying, well, this doesn't really feel like something that's on my mind or in my life or in my heart at this particular moment. But I would like to suggest to us that actually these issues are swirling around us, whether we're looking at them directly or not. And perhaps for us to look at them directly and to bring to bear the wisdom of our tradition might prepare us for the times when we really need them. So, for example, when you're actually in a period of grief and loss, or even a time when you might be considering or contemplating your own death, that is not the time to try to take on a spiritual practice. That is not the time to try to figure it out. Actually, we should be figuring this out while we're not worrying about it so much, so that we're ready in the difficult times. And because of this story, this incredible story that we're moving toward, the story of Jesus' life, Jesus' death, and the new life that came out of that, we have this amazing kind of different way to look at life and death. And we have the possibility of understanding all the issues that are swirling around us that have to do with life and death in a completely different way. Everything from the personal to the social, to the political. So that's why we're taking a big leap into the deep end of the pool during this time to talk about matters of life and death. And what I would like to invite you to do is for you to find perhaps your own connection to this theme. And I would guess that it might be very different for different people. A friend of mine just recently lost her mom, and one of the things she's experiencing is that as she goes through this time of mourning, she doesn't really have much of a way to let people know that she's in that place, or to recognize that other people are also mourning, people that might understand even more directly what she is going through. And one of the things about community is that one of the powers of community is that the things that happen to us at different times, so that when we're in a time of need, there are other people around who are in places where they can reach out a hand, where they can support us. Sometimes we need to be carried, and sometimes we're the ones who are willing to carry. And I'm just curious if you're willing to say if there are people in this room at this particular moment who are in a period of mourning or grief for a lost loved one or a pet or anyone. Would you be willing to raise your hand if you feel like you're kind of in a period of mourning? Yeah. So it's good for us to know that these things are going on in our community at any particular time. Are there people in this room who have parents, elderly parents, who may be facing issues of life and death? Would you be willing to raise your hand for that? And as you look around in your world, are you seeing issues of life and death around you? Whether they're kind of right in your own face, do you see these places and things in other parts of the culture? You raise your hand to that. So these things are around. We did a little work making a list of issues that weave together life and death, and I just want to read a few of these. End-of-life care, right to die, contraception, abortion, wars large and small, societal violence, famine, global warming, endangered species, cancer, the end of dreams, the military, risk-taking, the murder rate, the death penalty, gun control. I could go on and on, but I don't think I should, because too many of these at one time is too much to bear. And that's one of the reasons that Psalm 23 is so powerful, because we recognize that we don't have to bear that alone, and that the people around us serve as God's surrogates in this process, holding our hands when we need to have our hands held, to lift us up when we need to be lifted up, to carry us when we need to be carried. So what I'd like for you to do for just a little minute, if you're willing, is to turn to someone or two or three people nearby and just share a little bit with the people around you if there's some connection that you see to this particular theme in your life right at this point, or even that you can imagine. So can we just take a few minutes just to chat amongst ourselves? As we close this time of reflection, I just want to recognize that sometimes to look at these issues head on can bring up hard places for us, and that this can be a time where we can share our vulnerability in community so that we can look at these questions in a way that's honest and helpful. Amen.